Chat, do we get Path of Exile 2? Do we get Path of Exile 2, start playing it? I've heard that it's just a time dump too. I've heard that it's just like, oh, you just got to dump time into it, you know? So let's watch it and see.
Hi folks, it's Falcon, and the original Path of Exile never really needed a sequel per se. It's a massive game they've been updating consistently for 10 years. Could have been a forever game. Path of Exile 2 was originally planned as a simple expansion, but it evolved considerably during
It
development.
looks good. It literally looks like a better Diablo. I know nothing about this game, though.
Say it here right at the top. Path of Exile 2 so far, in my experience, is really good. We are talking a legit evolution of the formula.
Path of Mid.
Made it mostly the same as
I'm gonna
just
Path of Mid, and then I'm gonna install it again immediately.
It looks amazing too, and it runs really well on PC. It almost feels early access in name only. I didn't experience any major bugs or really any noticeable
Pumpkin
issues
patch
at any time. It's weird to say that, but
this
like,
game looks. What do you mean it looks like? Why does this look like to you? Looks like a mobile game. You're just saying that because it's an ARPG. You're literally just saying it looks like a mobile game because it's an ARPG. Some people don't like the overhead shot games, which like it makes sense, but it doesn't. I don't think it looks like chat. Watch the gameplay. Watch the gameplay as it gets into this. I genuinely am curious about playing. I might start ripping this game.
Now, I realize that stands for action.
I'm grabbing a water bottle while you
when
guys keep watching.
Says ARPG, they mean games like Diablo 2. It's top-down perspective. You're in a dark fantasy world with endless hordes of monsters, and you basically buzzsaw your way through them for a ton of loot. The format remains pretty old school. You progress through a linear story campaign. You start at one end of a map. You explore till you reach an exit. Each area is randomly generated. You use town portals to warp back and forth to a safe house. You can sell loot. You get lore dumps from NPCs. At its heart, Path of Exile 2 is Diablo 2. I'm
not a big overhead cam, but Minecraft Dungeons is a W. Minecraft Dungeons is actually sick. Should we try Minecraft Dungeons?
Second act has a desert, and the third act, the final of the available acts so far, is a jungle. On the surface, this game looks highly derivative, but the actual experience of playing it is extremely different. I want to chalk that up, might I add, to the addition of a dodge roll. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but let me tell you, it is much more than anything I could say by just saying the words dodge roll. Abilities require actual positioning.
Path of Exile is pretty easy too, so even JD can handle it. I've seen the opposite. Chat, can we talk seriously for a minute? Why am I a degenerate when it comes to games? Like, why am I so stupid? I can't comprehend the most basic things. Like, you guys will be like, JD, you just do this. And it's like the most, and I don't know how it goes over my head. How does it go over my, would you consider yourself a gamer? ADHD? Could be ADHD. Chat, I do have ADHD. Bad. Pretty bad. Would I consider myself a gamer? Yes, I would consider myself. Dude, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gaming action figures on my desk right now. A couple of sports ones. In the back, I have 3 posters. All right? I've got Cyberpunk back there, 2 of them. And then I've got a Borderlands poster. You guys can't see it, but I also have another Cyberpunk poster right here. I would consider myself a gamer. Now, you're a degenerate in general. Okay, that makes sense. JDHD is crazy. I don't know, dude. I feel like when it comes to playing games, I'm actually the stupidest person, and I don't know how. I don't know how or why. I'm like I just can't comprehend basic things when I play video games. And I love playing video games. I play them all the time with you guys. I stream all the time, and we play games, and we have fun. But like, I'm just so stupid when it comes to it. I don't understand. I don't understand what the problem is. Good thing you got Twitch chat to help you. That is true. But they just make fun of me. They don't even help. You guys just make fun.
I would basically call it tactical in certain ways. Obviously, it's not like a turn-based tactical game.
This looks fun, chat. This actually looks so fun.
More in this. They don't all just swarm you and slap you in the face with unavoidable damage. It's something that's not easy to see in footage. It's just one of those things you have to play to get a feel for. Everything, especially your character, has a real weight.
Mostly making fun of you, though. It's too easy.
This focus on tactical combat probably is most easily seen in the boss fights. There are a lot of boss fights.
That's the one thing, chat. A lot of boss fights being in this kind of making me wet. Just a little bit. A lot of boss fights in the game. That's the kind of shit I like. You guys know me. Every time I play games, the 2 things I like: bosses, because it gives me a sense of progression, and a lot of loot to build up my character. Also gives me a sense of progression. I come from playing Borderlands. I love loot, okay? And I love building up characters, and I love being bosses, okay? Chat, I don't think I can say that on... Can I say that on Twitch? And I love killing bosses, okay? I love it. That's what I like to do. Borderlands is goated. Queso, you get more and more goated by the day. I'm going to need you to come over here. I'm going to need you to oil up. Borderlands 4 is going to be the highlight of my 2025 if it actually comes out this year. We are going to grind the gears off of that game. But this game does look really fun. I love battle passes and skin bundles and SBMM. That's crazy, Clue. That's crazy. Love SBMM. Let's see if this will be a fun game to play on stream.
Early access build, 50 in total out of the 100 that will be in the final game. Every single area has some kind of boss monster, and almost all of these are unique fights. They're definitely inserting some Souls energy into these things with the presentation of the bosses and the copious dodge rolling required to survive some of these encounters, but it's not super difficult.
Dude, this boss
in
looks
a
sick.
You will die kind of way. I mean, at least when we're talking about the campaign, the end game ramps up pretty considerably. With the right build, though, you're just going to steamroll right through this game, and it's fun as hell. There's still a very large focus on building your character in Path of Exile 2, but it's a
Are these the characters you can choose from? I don't know. I don't know anything about the classes.
streamlined process in ways that might make longtime fans tilt their head a little. But in my experience, I just have to say, I think they really nailed it here, making parts of the game more accessible while still affording the same amount of complexity for players who really like to get deep in the weeds with this stuff. The passive skill tree, it's still here, and it's still mostly the same, but I find progression on it a little easier to not screw up with compared to the one in the first game. There's still a ton of nodes and incremental upgrades, but there aren't as many beginner's traps here. I'm sure at higher levels there's going to be some unintuitive things that you basically need a guide to fully grasp, but the character building aspect, I just have to say, it's a bit simpler, quite a bit simpler even.
Did he say that there was a passive skill tree, dude? Did he say that there was a passive skill tree? That's sick as hell. So not only is there a skill tree, but also a skill tree for passive abilities. Is that what he meant by that? I'm so new to Path of Exile. I don't know if I should play this game, but it looks fun. It looks like a game. It looks like a game I would love to dive into. You know what I mean? No, like the only skill tree is the passive. You only have passive abilities in this game? Wait, what? You only have passive abilities in this game, and skills are unlocked by buying/finding skill gems? That sounds so sick, dude. That does sound sick. That actually sounds fun.
And with a focus on loot that, I mean, that's the deciding factor in your resistances and upgrades. On the other hand, skill gems have been completely separated from equipment and given their own game menu. We actually talked about this in another video. I think it's actually a positive change, but it is a complete change in one of the defining aspects of the original game, so I don't know if that's going to be universally agreed upon, but I really like it. Now, instead of just dropping various skill gems randomly, the game gives you these uncut skill gems, which you use to unlock whatever skill you want. Instead of being confined to the slots in your equipment, you have 9 default skill slots to choose.
Chat,
As
this
to
looks
the
sick as
original
fuck,
game,
dude.
You start getting a lot of skills you can use pretty early in the game. It's not a game where you're going to be standing in place whacking at enemies with your default attack. It's all skills all the time as long as you've got the mana for it. There is a whole lot going on with this system. From
Should I play on controller or should I play mouse keyboard? What is this game designed for?
the support gems to new spirit gems, which use this new stat called spirit, obviously.
This looks
and it's
so
used
similar
on
to
abilities
Diablo.
like summons or powerful buffs. But I'm just going to stop there because you can easily get lost in all this. It is still fairly complex, but in comparison to the original game, I just think it's a little more forgiving. They tutorialize everything in a manner that feels like good. They drip feed information instead of blowing it all in your face.
Blowing
like
what in my face? Ayo.
I could have chosen better words, but same time,
That's insane. That's not even pre-watched.
I'd rather not have it all blown in my face. Now, it's easy to get really
I was gonna say.
bogged down by talking about systems and stuff, but I also really just think it needs to be said how good Path of Exile 2 looks. Like, this game
It does
nails
look
it
fucking
with the
insane.
Dark
Dude,
Fantasy genre.
if you watch this compared to Diablo 4 gameplay, how is one of them by a AAA studio? I don't know. Is the Path of Exile 2 creators AAA? I don't know. How is one of them by Blizzard, one of the biggest game studios in the world, and then you got Path of Exile 2 that looks 10 times better than it?
Especially
This looks
impressive
better
is
than
just how
Diablo. I
varied it all is.
100% agree.
Every single area offers something new. And when you say dark fantasy or grim dark or grim or any of those words, you don't expect the sentence "no two locations look the same" to come up. Like, there's also always multiple
That's
new enemies,
sick, dude.
new types. Every location. In that respect, it very much feels like a golden era game. They don't just throw you all those new enemy types as a new kind of boss, some crazy thing. that occasionally has more than one form, or it runs between different arenas, grabs new weapons. Stuff switches up a lot in boss fights, and it's great.
This
For
does
me,
look
good
sick, dude.
ARPGs need visual variety to keep things interesting. Mechanically, the difference between an undead miner and a mud golem isn't that much, but having a different enemy that acts just a little bit different keeps things interesting. These kinds of games live and die on their interesting dungeons and engaging monster design, and Path of Exile 2 just absolutely kills it in that.
And Diablo just didn't, dude. And Diablo 4 just didn't. It didn't. Like, nothing was different.
And that's not to say that the story is bad or anything. It can be safely ignored, though. And to be frank, you should be able to do that in any good game like this. You're expected to play through it multiple times, and you're not always going to want to deal with that story. It's
kind of like Borderlands. Kind of like Borderlands. You just, like, after you've played... Here's my thing with these types of games. Like you said, you're going to be replaying it so many times, right? So with these types of games, like these looter shooter builder type, like, games... I think it's important to have a good story, right? I don't think it needs to be the main focus, but I think you need to have a good story so it's enjoyable to replay it. But it needs to be a story, like you just said, that can also be ignored. But it still has to be a good story, you know?
Enough, you pick your class on a gallows, you manage to escape. And so begins the mission. Getting revenge on the lord that sentenced you to death, that bastard. From there,
That's
the
actually
story
sick.
evolves into chasing a baby Lovecraft monster to stop an evil resurrection. It's all basically what it needs to be for a game like this. Excuses to go through the varied environments and slay a whole bunch of nasty monsters. Things have to escalate, so they do. It's possible to have a great, like, flawless story in one of these games, but it's not really as important as it is in certain other types of games. The story has to service the gameplay, and that's exactly what it does here. But there are some newcomers like the mercenary who I was immediately drawn to because they used a new weapon, a crossbow. Sounds boring, but in practice it's
like a
more
shotgun.
like a ye old machine gun with a shotgun attachment.
Yeah,
and a
literally.
slug grenade launcher. It's completely ridiculous, but this guy is so much fun to play as. But
I kind of
don't
want.
need
I
to
kind of want to be a wizard. Is there? Tell me, there's like a sorcerer one. I really enjoyed that in Diablo, like casting spells and shit. Yeah, there is. I'm doing it right now. W.
even tell you that. Like, look at the footage. The footage speaks for itself on this stuff. You even get a Dragon's Breath style shotgun blast. It's just freaking amazing. This guy is so much fun to play as, and from experimenting with a few other classes, they've also been made more active and interesting too. Can't stress how much fun I find the mercenary though. It's really
It
freaking
does look fun. It does
but
look
none
way
of it
fun.
would work without solid controls. And with the game coming out to consoles alongside PC, I wondered just how playable it's going to be with a controller versus a keyboard and mouse.
Dude,
Maybe
I literally asked this earlier in the video. This is amazing.
more active combat style would make the keyboard controls awkward. The controller obviously works great. You can rebind pretty much everything to your preferred style. Amusingly, it defaults to sort of Souls-like controls with R1 as attack and circle B as the dodge button. Using a keyboard, dodging is set to the spacebar. Honestly, works quite well. It's really a toss-up between the two types of schemes here for me. I think they're both well done, and the game has a separate UI for both, which, I mean, I cannot stress how good it is they did that. To be frank, some high-profile releases really need to take a cue from that. It really helps the fact that you've got controls for both not be a problem. The game never feels like it has to be played on a keyboard or has to be played
I
on
like
a
that.
controller.
That's
because
nice.
it essentially caters to both when you're
Okay,
using
well then we'll
one or
play
the other.
keyboard mouse.
I mean, I've had nothing but positives to say so far, but I did experience a couple of issues. Once in a while, you could see the early access, so to speak, with a few immersion-breaking elements like dialogue overlapping, someone telling you to do something you've already done. There's
that's
one
fine.
instance where I was able to clip through a moving piece of scenery. This is all minor stuff, but like the fact that the game is this polished and called early access, you have to kind of excuse a lot of it.
Dude, it seems like a Larian Studios-esque situation where you get something like Baldur's Gate 3, which is just like, how the hell are AAA studios not making quality games like this, you know? W game, that's what I'm saying, dude. This is kind of making me stiff. And I feel like I want to go buy it and start playing it.
But if there's one issue that I really have to say is a big one for me, and it's kind of inherent in the fact that the final game is going to be free to play, but it's an online-only single-player game, and that's a big pain in the ass. I mean, it's not strictly a single-player game, but I play this shit like a single-player game, and I'm stuck online. Like, this caused some sluggishness, some input lag, and this is playing the game before release when
I've never understood that. I didn't understand that about Diablo either. Why do I have to connect to online servers if I'm playing solo. Obviously, if I'm playing with a friend, it makes sense. You got to have an online server if you're playing with a damn friend. That's not weird. That's not something that doesn't make sense. But if I'm playing this game solo, why the hell am I connecting to online servers? That makes zero sense to me.
I have no idea how the servers are going to react day one. Then there's the in-game store, which I wasn't able to really look at, so I can't tell you if the monetization has gotten worse or not. To the devs' credit, Path of Exile is about the best you could possibly hope for with the monetization. The first game, you could easily avoid spending any money at all, and they've promised that the sequel store will mostly be the same. It's just that I can't confirm that's the case right now. It's not like we've never had developers say one thing and do another, get it all wrong and then blame it on their mother. No, that's certainly happened many, many times. That said, these guys haven't done that to us, and we have every reason to believe that they're not going to. At the end of the day, though, it is a game that relies on a central server, so expect
to not
issues
cheat
on day
items,
one
I
and beyond.
guess.
I got maybe the best possible experience with the game right now, and that may not reflect how it works when the game releases on the 6th. I really can't tell you. So other than a few minor quibbles, I just got to tell you, Path of Exile 2 is awesome. Would I prefer this was just a game that I could buy and play without the free-to-play stuff? Absolutely, but it gets a gold star for how little of that junk negatively affects this game. If you're going to make a game that is supported in this way, these guys know how to do it. I will complain about 99.9% of games that use this monetization model. This is probably the one shining example. The example maybe even that proves the rule that it's a bad business model. There's one that really does it this well. It's Path of Exile, and now Path of Exile 2, hopefully. And again, I could complain about that, but the real inconvenience is that because of that, it has a central server. The other real problem with it is it's not actually done. It is an early access title, and it only has
Which
3
makes
of the
sense. Dude,
6
that
total
literally looks
acts,
like a
but with
machine
each
gun.
act taking around 8 or so hours to complete. There's more than enough to keep you busy here.
That literally
Plus,
looks
there's
like a machine
robust
gun.
endgame after finishing what is available of the campaign. And I know for a lot of people, the Atlas endgame stuff was where the real Path of Exile starts, so I'm glad it's here right from the start. The only big question that remains is if you should wait for the final release or jump in now. And I'm going to say it's down to whether you mind paying $30 for the privilege of beta testing an unfinished game. I put it in an uncharitable way, certainly, but honestly, $30 for pretty much a 24-hour experience that's really good. We've been suckered into
24
paying
hours?
more than that for less time spent in a great game, certainly. Still, if that's not your cup of tea, free is pretty much always better than paid, at least in terms of having money and spending it. It's not always the case that the game is better. In fact, it's usually not. But, I mean, you know that this is a good game that is going to be available for free if you wait allegedly 6 months. But for $30, it barely feels like an early access game.
Yeah, I mean,
Each
dude,
act
$30
long
is
enough
not.
that there's enough to satisfy anyone
That's not a
who just
problem.
has to jump in right now. There's a lot of hype, but I'm going to say I think that it lives up to it and more. I'm having a fantastic time with Path of Exile 2, but I have to beg the devs, rent out some more servers, please. We don't need a Flight Simulator 2024 situation on our hands here. Like, can we
what
get
is
one
that?
online game come out this year without a ton of
Deadass,
server-oriented
dude.
drama?
What is the problem
please?
there?
That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us...
W Video, amazing. I love Game Ranks. They're my favorite game reviewer of all time. I really do love Game Ranks. So W Video, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Do we watch or do we watch? Do we play it? What do you guys think? Do we play Path of Exile 2? I don't know. You guys let me know. Certainly let me know. I don't know. It looks amazing. It looks like it's a game right up my alley. I feel kind of dry. Okay, pause. In terms of games to play. So let me know if you guys think we should hop into Path of Exile 2. I think that would be a lot of fun.